Hi guys, this is the second video of my Shot Viz tutorial, and in the first video we talked about how you can track shots using this amazing shot plotter. So you just plot the shot location and so on and so on. We talked about that in the first video, so instead we'll skip that and go directly to the Excel workbook. So in this video we want to talk a bit about data preparation. Uh, and this is the raw data from the shot plotter. You can find this Excel workbook if you look in the description under the video, so you can download it and follow along if you want to. Okay, so besides from the raw data, we also have a bit of line information here. So I just filled out a table with the number of each player, the name of each player, the date that the game is at Tampa Bay, the position, and the line information. So the first forward line here is Zucker, Kapanen, and Rodriguez. So this is all the information we need in order to create our short viz. So we'll just get started, and the first thing we'll do is we'll just select everything and create a table. Just like that. Okay, so in this video, we will just add a few calculations, add a few things that we need later on. So the first thing I want to add is the shot number. So it's just, we're gonna use that later on when we want to plot our shots. So it's just nice to know which number the shot have. So we can do that in a few ways, but I'm usually just using the row function. So we'll just say 01. So this simply counts from here. The first row, the second row, and so on. So it's just a counting formula. So now we have the number of each shot, and we can see here that there are 113 shots in this particular game. Okay, so the next thing I want to add is that I want to adjust the coordinates. So the thing is, when you plot shots in the shot plotter, you would typically, let's say you're plotting Pittsburgh shots on this side and Tampa Bay shots on this side. In the first period, then in the second period they switch sides. So you would in the second period plot Pittsburgh shots in this end and Tampa Bay shots in this end. That's obviously a problem because we want to have all the coordinates on the same side. So I've just decided that all Pittsburgh shots are to the right and all Tampa Bay shots are to the left. You could do it the other way around, of course, but that's just the definition I'm using. So all shots that are tracked to the left, we need to mirror image those so that they are all in the same end. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So in order to do that, we need to, I'll just create another sheet here. We can call that coordinate, like that. And we just need a bit of information. So we need the date, we need the period, and we need the adjustment. We could just call that coordinate. Okay. So the date, there's only one game, so we'll just put in that. And the period will always be 1, 2, 3, and overtime. And because this is a date, we'll just change the format here, like that. Okay, and we'll just make this into a table as well. Okay, so now we need to know if we need to mirror image the coordinates. So how we'll do that is we'll just use the SUMIF function. So we'll just sum all the x coordinates x's on this side. So if the x value is positive, it means it's to the right. If it's negative, it's to the left. Okay, so we'll just sum all the x values. If the period is equal to the period we got here, and if the date matches the date we got here. So you have to do this for every game. You just add the new date and add the period, and then it will recalculate. So we can just, the final thing we need to do as well is we need to look only at Pittsburgh shots. So we'll just say the team has to be Pittsburgh. Okay. So here we see that the x value is positive in all the periods. Now this is because my data here is taken from the NHL directly. So we don't need to mirror image anything because it's already done. But normally when you track shots yourself, you would have first period positive, second period negative, third period positive, or the other way around. So it would be minus, plus, minus. Okay, so in this case, we don't need to adjust anything, but we still need the formula to be correct. So we'll just say, so what we're interested in is if this value is larger than or equal to 0, then it's a 1. We don't need to mirror image it because the shot is already to the right side. If it's not correct, then we'll say it's a -1. Then we need to mirror image it. In this case, there is no -1s, but normally there would be. Okay. So now we just need to look up if we have to mirror image it or not. So we'll just use the XLOOKUP formula. And what we need to look up is the date and the period. Okay. And where we need to look it up is here and here. And what we need to return is the coordinate. So in this case, it's just 1 all the way down. Okay. But we're not interested in the 1, we are interested in the x value, so we just multiply it by x. So now we have all the coordinates. If we needed to mirror image it, it would automatically happen now. And we'll just do the same with the y coordinates. So we'll just change this to a y. Okay, so now we have the adjusted x and y coordinates. That's the first data preparation thing we're doing in this video. The next thing is a bit complicated, but we need to know who's on the ice. So I'll just call it Pittsburgh 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could add a 6th if you wanted to. In this data, I'm just ignoring empty net situations. So you would never have more than 5 players on the ice. But doesn't matter, you could add a 6th player. Okay, so now we need to look up who's on the ice based on this information. It's the first forward line and the second D pair. Okay, so in order to do that, I'll just show it here next to the table. So the first thing we need to look up is we need to look up where to find the forward line. So we can do that with an if sentence, if formula. So we'll just say if this one, the forward line, is equal to this header, then it will be a 1, otherwise it will be a 0. Okay, so what this does is it creates an array where only the correct one is 1, the others are 0. So if this was F2, it would move one spot, but it is what F1, so we'll just leave it like that. Okay, so we need that in order to know where to look up the information. So the second thing we'll do is we'll just use the filter function, and what we want to filter is the lineup information, and we want to include only the correct header. So we are only including the correct line now. So we'll just do that. So now what's going on is that the filter function looks for the correct header, and then it shows all the entire column here. Yeah, so that's the first thing we want to do. But we are not interested in just knowing which player is there. We are interested in knowing the number of this player, each player. So we could just say multiply by the number here. So now we know who the first forward line is. It's 16, Kapanen. 24, don't remember who this is Soccer, I think. And then 71 would be Rodriguez. So now we have the information we need. Now we just need to add one extra condition because we need to ensure that the date is correct. So we'll just make an if formula here. If the date is equal to the date here, then it's a 1, otherwise it's a 0. So now we are excluding all of the situations where the date is not correct. In this case, we only have the information from one game, so there is nothing to exclude, but usually you would usually you would put in new games and new dates, so you have to just make this condition here. So it doesn't change anything for now. Okay, so now we have all the players we need, but we don't want them in an array. So you can just pick the largest number by using the large function. So what it does is it just looks for the largest number, and we want the largest number, so we put in a 1. It should be 71. So now we have just one value. If we put in 2, it puts in the second largest number. So this is actually what we need. Sorry. So we'll just copy this and paste it. and put in the largest number. So now we have the first forward in each forward line. So we'll just copy it here as well and just change it to the second largest number and the third largest number. Okay, so now we have all the forwards we need. 71, 24, 16, and so on and so on. So that was easy enough. Now let's go to the player number 4. So if there's a D pair on the ice, then we need to look up the D pair, just like we did with forward lines. But if there's no D pair here, so let's go down a bit. For instance, here, there's a shorthanded situation. So we just put in that it was the shorthanded line number 1. And we're not putting in a D pair. So in that case, we need to put in the fourth largest number in from this column. So let me just show it here real quickly. So we'll say if D pair is empty, then we need to, I'll just copy it real quick. Then we'll copy this. So if D pair is empty, then we will put in the fourth highest number. And if it's not empty, then we need to look up something else. But for now, we'll just put in a 1 just to illustrate what's going on here. So in all of these cases, there is a D pair on. So in this case, you had a shorthanded or power play situation. Shorthanded, power play. So now it looks up the fourth number. And we'll, of course, just do the same for the fifth player. So we'll just put in the fifth player here. Okay, so far so good. Now we need to put in the defensive player whenever this is not empty. So instead of a 1 here, we need to put in the D player. So we'll just copy all of this. Okay, so now instead of looking up the forward line, we will be looking up the D pair. And instead of taking the fourth highest number, we'll take the D highest number. So let's just see what happens here. So now it puts in the D player, except for the shorthanded situations. Then it's just the fourth highest player in the shorthanded 1 line. I hope this makes sense. It's a bit cryptic, I know. And we'll just do the same here. So we'll just copy this, and instead of a 1, we'll put that in, and we'll look up the D pair, and we'll take the second highest number now. That was correct. We'll take the second highest number here. Should be correct. Yeah. It's correct now. So now we have what we need. The only problem is there's a problem down here. That's just because I don't have any information here. That's because I've just ignored all empty net situations. So in this case, there's an empty net situation, and I elected not to include those in my Shot Viz. If you did, you could put in something like empty net 1, empty net 2, something like that. Anyway, we don't want this error here. So we'll just say if error, then it's a 0. Oh, what happened there? So if error, then it's a 0. If error, it's a 0. If error, it's a 0. And finally, if error, it's a 0. Okay, so now we have, I know this was there's a lot of functions here, and if you're not used to working in Excel, it may have been a bit difficult to follow along, but go through it a few times. I hope it makes sense. It's not that complicated anyway, but now we actually have the information that we need. So I think I'll just end the tutorial video here. So now we have the shot number, we have the adjusted coordinates, and we have the on ice information, which players are on the ice. So that will be it. See you in video 3.